Hey everybody, what's up? This is a different thing than I'm used to doing. Mondays are usually my day to chill after. I usually work a lot on the weekends, so Monday is like a chill day. Get back in the groove. My day job is not too intensive, so I get to chill a little bit more than usual. But today I want to do something a little bit different, and was excited to hear about this guy Clayton Barton introducing mentorships to his website. So, and everybody knows that as howtodrawcomics.net. And I really wanted to have like a conversation diving into the mentorship kind of topic. So there's a lot of things that can go in and out of that conversation. Like there's just so many things that people don't know about. And there's a lot of things that people have questions about. So, I figured it would be a great opportunity to talk about this kind of stuff. So let's just check the chat. I know people popped in here before and said hello before we started. I saw Coleman's up in here. Good to see you, Coleman. Ever since we connected on that one, was it Shane Davis's launch day, maybe, or my closing day? I can't remember which day it was, but you've been a super fan ever since. So I appreciate you coming around. Hockey's around here. What's up, Hockey? Good to see you. And my rival from 2 years ago, Amaris Joseph's here. It's good to see you in the chat as well. So I'm not usually streaming, so I don't know if we're going to get tons of traffic, but I'm hoping that people come around. And if not, they get the replay at least. So we'll get started in just a second. We have usually another guy in here, Jeremy, but he's like my art bro. I wanted to keep that separate and keep that like a special day where we, get to fool around and make fun of each other. Only on Wednesdays though. So Jeremy Burtz is here. What's up? So I wanted to first intro this guy as the way we met, and it kind of ties into mentoring because the first time I saw Clayton was, I think he had like I don't know if you guys remember this, but he did a Ninja Turtles tutorial on, I think, coloring or maybe the entire process for comic books. And this is the first time I saw his work. And I didn't really make the connection to, you don't really put the face to the name. And I don't think he was doing a whole lot of FaceTime at that point. But it was an interesting first introduction. That was the art that I saw. And then eventually I wanted to be a part of the website. I wanted to help people figure this thing out, because when you first start drawing comics and figuring that out, I don't know about anybody else, but it's really hard to nail down what you should do. There's for everything from figuring out where do you put black areas on your page to how do you put the story together and all that. So from the ground up, I know it's a tough grind for a lot of people. So I wanted to help out with the website. So I reached out and we had a little collaboration where there's tons of tutorials now that I wrote on howtodrawcomics.net. I'm sure we'll get into it as people come in here. Zaid Studios, my art bro, is here. Jedi is here as well as NTM. Where'd Jedi go? Chat's going. There we go. Jedi, what's up? We'll bring you in. I almost want to have you on because you are directly tied to the subject. So let's, without further ado, get our guest on here. Eric says, who dis? So our guest tonight, Clayton, is here. What's up, Clayton?
Hey, Joe. How you doing? I'm feeling pretty good, thanks. How you doing, chat? It's good to be here. It's an honor, actually.
That's very nice for you to say, because this is a smaller channel. I'm a newish to actually doing consistent YouTube stuff. But it's great. It's great to have you on.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't remember. Do you remember when you put out that Michelangelo that YouTube video when you were doing that?
Man, it was so long ago, probably like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It's an insane amount of time to think about now. But it is the video that everybody seems to know me by. If they know of how to draw comics, they've seen that video. It probably got them into how to draw comics in the first place. And at the time, I don't think there was a whole lot of videos that covered comic book coloring on YouTube. So it was very easy to establish a channel that focused on the topic as a whole, drawing comic books, and to really build it up, because that's what people were looking for. you know,
Yeah.
for some reason or another, it just was not an area of education that was fulfilled to a high level of degree on the internet.
Yeah, I feel like I know I was impressed with the work at when I first saw. I mean, obviously, you've got the line work that's pretty solid, and then the coloring on top really just adds the icing. I mean, you see that happen. It's like watching some sort of comic art porn or something, where you see it all just fill up on the page and kind of be brought to life. So I think you're right. A lot of people probably were attracted to that video. Yeah. So
Yeah, I wrote up an entire script for that and everything. I was really dedicated to these videos, and I still am dedicated. But as a younger man, you overthink a lot of things, and you try extra hard to get everything off the ground. And so, I would have not only written that script out, but probably spoken the script like 10 times before I got it just perfect. Half an hour script, like no joke. I was a maniac back then. And I still am, but not too much. I'm a bit more relaxed now.
Yeah, that sounds very much like kind of me. If I really want to be honest, I probably go over, if I do a video that I actually try to get the words right, it takes a while.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So are you still a bit like that as well with your YouTube videos? A bit nervous, a bit like, man, are people going to like it?
It's better. It's better than it has been. You just get used to streaming, and I think that helps your videos. But also at the same time, you're just trying to when you put it come at it from an angle of helping people and just whatever, and kind of calm a little bit. Clearly for me, it's kind of not mumbling so much.
Big time, man. Well, that was one of the reasons I was hesitant to start the mentoring sessions, because I'm still a student myself. Every single day, I'm learning something new, right? So for me to put myself out there and say, hey, you know what? Come to me for advice, and I'll help you out on your journey when I'm still on my own. Yeah. It was a little bit, you feel like a bit of a hypocrite. You got some of that, what do they call it? Like that posers syndrome, essentially.
Right. Oh yeah, the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's right, imposter syndrome. But the way I thought about it is that no matter what level I'm at, I might not be perfect and I might not know everything, but there's going to be somebody out there who I can help. There's going to be a challenge that I've come up against and gotten past that somebody else is facing right now. And if I can give them what they need to maybe avoid it altogether and not have to spend time trying to figure out how to get past it, then that's worth it to me. That's awesome. It means they can get to drawing comics a lot quicker rather than sitting there trying to study and work out what they're doing wrong.
Absolutely. As we're talking, we've got a little bit of side conversation. Noah's coming at me hard with this one. I like how I like the Trader Joe better than Slacker Joe. I work really hard. So the Slacker is just clearly not true. But I appreciate your hearing it, Noah. As far as Noah goes, I feel like he's been, corrupted by many a different voice in the community. So I won't hold that against you, Noah. Riverbend Bear, yes, agrees. It's imposter syndrome. That's what we're talking about. And it's kind of like a good segue into, growth as an artist, because that's going to happen when you do start having success, because you're going to notice that if you're making some, decent work, and then the next time you have to repeat that, you're going to have this little bit of a, either you're going to be scared that you're not going to be able to do it again, or you're going to be scared that, maybe there's something where you don't think that you're the same guy as the guy that did the work. And that's what the imposter feels like. So,
oh man, I feel that all the time, especially when I pull off something that I'm like, damn, that's all right. I'm never going to draw again. I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, I don't know if you heard this comment. I think it was on Ethan's channel, and he said something about, I forget which artist he asked that, what does it feel like when you're drawing a page? Because for him, it's like this very tense thing. And they were saying that playing music, it might have been with Dale, and Dale
Mhm.
might have said, the same thing, where music's really lighthearted, but Dale Keown, a great artist, also feels this thing where it almost feels like the guy that mentioned this it's like you're walking a tightrope every time you're drawing a
Mhm.
page. You're feeling like one side's too little, the other side's too much, and you got to find this happy medium where it might not happen. You might fall, you might.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit of a risk every time, and that's how I feel. I feel like until you see the magic happen on the page, and you're like, okay, I can rest a little bit. Until that happens, you're like, oh, on like
Yeah.
this really
Oh,
tense
for sure. Yeah, that's so true. And it's kind of reassuring that people like Dale and Ethan, they still face that every time pencil goes to paper. It, in one way, is really unfortunate because it does take some of the fun out of actually being a comic book artist. But in another way, I think it's important that whatever it is you're doing in life, that you are challenging yourself, because if you're challenging yourself and you're striving despite that, you are growing. You need to be challenged in order to grow. And what better area to grow in than your passion? So that's the way I look at it. It's
And
like, man, if my brain is turning its cogs right now to try and work this out, I'm going to be a better artist by the end of it, which means I just didn't get a good piece of artwork out of it by the end. I also learned, I also got experience points.
they build up quick, but you don't see it as quick. Like it always seems like you're a little bit behind where you want to be, no matter what.
Yeah. And it's like you're not even sure if you're on the right path sometimes.
Mhm.
You're creating this work and you're trying out different techniques and different approaches, but you're not sure if those techniques and approaches are actually the right thing to do, whether or not it's leading to a result that you're either going to keep or throw out eventually.
Right.
So there's a lot of flying blind in this because there's YouTube videos and there's courses online that you can take, but at the same time, they're just going to cover the basic topics. Here's anatomy, here's proportions, here's figure drawing in general and whatnot, so on and so forth. But there's no one there when you're on your own at your desk actually drawing a comic book
Right.
to tell you what to do. So
That's
that's scary. I wish Mark Silvestri was here sometimes and he could be like, Clayton, you're approaching it all wrong. Do it this way instead.
right. I'm really those stories of Michael Turner, getting that
Mm,
mentorship from those guys, or there's tons of those type things with Finch and Fabak or Fabik.
totally.
It's like the same thing. You're like kind of jealous of this like relationship you have with some vastly more experienced artist, and so in that situation, you think you'll probably improve so much quicker because you'd have direct feedback, and I think that leads right into what a mentor is, and
Yeah.
it clearly doesn't need to be anybody special, just somebody that you trust, somebody that you have some sort of relationship with, and that you give there's like a mutual relationship and not just like a one-sided one. But so what do you think? I was going to ask, what do you think a mentor really is for an artist? What would you define it as?
Yeah, I don't think that if somebody is being mentored that they're necessarily a student. I agree with you. I feel like it's quite an equal partnership. It's more like they're on their journey and you're the guide by their side. And if they're unsure what road to go down, you'll give them some advice. You'll say, well, you could go down that road, but it's going to lead to here. But you could also go down this one and it's going to be a lot smoother sailing for you. So I think, you always want to be looking at both sides of the same coin. There's what, as an artist, you want to do and what, as an artist, you should do to make the whole process less painful. Because I've caught up one-on-one with people before. In fact, a guy reached out to me just online randomly one time. It was the first time I'd ever done any one-on-one mentoring before. And it was actually his wife wanted to hire me to mentor him for his birthday, which was pretty cool.
Right.
Except I was going to his apartment and I didn't know this guy from a bar of soap. But you know what? I did it anyway. And it was a really, really great experience. But the first thing he wanted to learn about was rendering. And that's all good and well. You want to learn about rendering? I can tell you about rendering until the cows come home. But his fundamentals were completely off. It was completely the wrong area that he should have been focused on. And so I could teach him about rendering and maybe he would get a little bit better at rendering, but all that beautiful rendering he would ultimately be doing was on a foundation that created a less than aesthetically pleasing drawing at the end of the day, no matter how much rendering he did.
Right.
So that's the way that I see it.
Experience, at least as a mentor. And you bring up a good point, because I almost come at it from, I guess my instinct right now is to almost come at it as the mentee, or, the person being mentored. And, and the way you brought it up here was you are the mentor and you're mentoring someone else. And it brings to mind something that was one point that I thought of as I came upon this whole topic, was that I think you need to be a mentor and be mentored at the same time, like simultaneously by different people. And
for sure,
it's important for two different reasons. I think, at least in my experience, and I get this from martial arts, because I don't know if you've ever done something like that in a dojo, but eventually, if you know enough, they force you to teach other people, because you end up having to really know your stuff to teach anybody. And even if you don't know it, you're going to pretty much learn it as you go and solidify it in your mind. I think it's the same idea for art.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's an interesting thing, because Art Jedi brings this up. Like me and Joe, he popped on my stream when I was working on Star Circuit, and was very, kind of enthusiastic about being there, even though I was like very unknown. He liked my work, so we had a relationship that way for a while, and then it just builds. But the point is, from that, I learned as much as probably he learned from my streams. So you think that's
Big
right?
Time. Yeah. I think that one thing that I need to have if I'm going to mentor people is great communication. Like you have to be a master communicator with this stuff, because you can't say the wrong thing, and you have to remember also that there's more than one pathway to success too. So what the student does want to learn could ultimately lead to where it is they want to be at, could lead to meeting their goals as a comic book artist. So there's no straightforward answer. Again, it's not like a course or a video online where it starts at the beginning, ends at the end, and you've learned a particular topic. This is so much more nuanced, and what you end up getting out of a mentoring session, it's going to get you better, but maybe in a way that you didn't even expect. I always, the scariest thing to me is trying to solve a problem that you don't even realize is there. And I think that a mentor can help you to shine a light on what those problems exactly are, so that you're not just addressing symptoms, but you're actually getting to the core of it, the root of the problem. That's what's going to get you better, way faster, and with less pain, because you'll be spending time working on the right things, and there can be so much wasted time, I think, over the years that you're trying to develop your skill set. If I could give myself advice to the 20-year-old me, based on where I've come now, I can tell you that I would have gotten as good as I am now by the age of 25 instead of 31. Like that learning curve would have been halved, because I would have known exactly what to do. But I had to get over a lot of obstacles and a lot of bumps along the way in order to get to where I'm at now.
So yeah, that's a good point, because like it's really just the knowledge that's holding you back. Like the mileage, as they call it, needs to be there. But if you don't know where you're going and you start heading a wrong direction, and you do that for months or something, you might get good at, I don't know, drawing a straight line, and that does not help you maybe make like a comic book, but
Totally.
we also meant drawing straight lines, and it'd help you on some aspect of it. Somebody up here, let's see, Comics Legend says, I agree that you need mentors who have gone through what you have and can steer you in the right direction. I paid several pro mentors to teach me, and it's accelerated my learning.
Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, it's definitely going to help you out. I think that, and I've already had a mentoring session as well. I think that the key thing is to just put it into action. Whatever advice you get from a mentor, you got to put it into action, because just because they tell you doesn't mean you're going to get better.
Right.
You've actually got to be, and that's why I think having the opportunity to book in multiple mentoring sessions is absolutely fantastic. Like, this has really always been the next evolution in my mind for howtodrawcomics.net, because once you've applied what the mentor has told you to apply, you can go away and practice it, come back and check in with the mentor and make sure that you're doing the right thing, which is, imagine if you had that ability with David Finch, for example, and his courses. If you could take his course, then check in with him like a week later once you've applied the stuff from that course and get his feedback. That'd be amazing.
Well, it's kind of possible now. He's doing his own.
Well, yeah, it is, which is so awesome, man. I mean, his channel. Wow.
It's unbelievable. I brought up howtodrawcomics.net, the place to be if you're trying to learn. But I also wanted to like kind of bring up a couple different parts of this that maybe we haven't touched on yet. I
for sure.
Try to come up with like interesting ways to bring about the subject. How about we take it personally? Can you say maybe one of the mentors that you've had before, like somebody that maybe is in the industry, or just maybe that's someone's out of the industry, a nobody that is just really good?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Oh man, dude.
Yeah. Have you had
when I was writing up the pitch for the mentoring sessions, I was sitting there really kind of depressed in a way, because I started thinking about David Finch and Mark Silvestri and how Mark Silvestri mentored him, and then how David Finch mentored for Bach.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so sad at that point, because I didn't have anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was always the dude teaching other people. So, back when I was teaching at university, I was helping students for years and years to get to where they wanted to be at within their craft.
Right.
My own brother, Corey, you know him well.
Yes.
I've helped him out over the years, and he's like an insane colorist now. And it's amazing to see his art has transformed in the way it has. But for me, dude, I reached out to Greg Capullo. He got back to me with some of the questions that I asked him. That was really great. Awesome. And I would actively seek out advice online. I remember back when I first started posting my work on the internet, it was DeviantArt, and there was a bunch of artists on there who I would hit up, and I would just say, hey, what do you think of my work? If I had questions about, you name the topic, I would just go ahead and ask them. Kanan White was one of them, from back in the day. A few others as well that I can't remember now, but because it was so long ago. But yeah, as far as actually having a mentor,
mm-hmm.
I've never really had one for comic book art.
I'd say that's the majority, because it's hard to get that one-on-one, especially these days. I think
I know
in the older times it was just more of an opportunity, maybe.
I did my research on this, and again, this is what inspired me to create the mentoring sessions, is remembering those stories about David Finch and Mark Silvestri, but also the fact that there's nothing out there online for mentoring for comic book artists. There is Comics Experience, and I had a look at their website, and
mm-hmm.
That's definitely an option. I'm not sure what their costs are. I'm not sure about their artists. That was the only other one that I found. So
I looked up a few things, but most of them are just blogs talking about it and not really.
Oh, right. There you go.
Though I do see a lot of in comic art, there's like you're talking about, there's not many, but in other things that are kind of related information, there are.
There is. Yeah. which is funny, right? Like comic art always seems to get ignored, but it's one of the most dynamic skill sets that you could ever try to cultivate. If you're a comic book artist, you can draw anything. Like you can be a concept artist, you can be a storyboard artist, you
Yeah,
can be an illustrator of whatever kind. You can work in movies, you can work in video games. And so it's definitely a skill set worth mastering, in my opinion.
for sure. I think the questions that I would ask,
Yeah.
now that I know that you don't have, excuse me. Now that I know you don't have a that experience, at least one-on-one, because I've also sent out questions. I was lucky enough to get kind of a mentor. It wasn't like
Nice.
there wasn't a whole lot of time back and forth because it's these guys are really busy. But if anyone heard this story before of me getting Freddie Williams to look at my work and then eventually going back and forth with Freddie Williams. And
Cool.
so when we're pretty cool with each other and we just, check up and he's actually, we're collaborating a little bit as well too. So that's pretty cool. Like that's how you were talking about before. You're a little bit, it's a slight peer relationship as well as there has to be a mutual type of,
there's got to be respect there for one another, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important that rapport is there. I think if you don't have rapport with a mentor, or I don't have rapport with someone I'm mentoring, then probably it's better to end it because no one's going to get value out of it. It's a complete waste of time. So you have to be able to hopefully click with your mentor, and that's why it's so important to be an important communicator, like I said, because at least then you can click with as many people as possible. Maybe not everybody, but more likely than not, you'll be able to create a connection. And that's so important because, you're dealing with people's belief systems. You're dealing with their motivation, not just the technical side of it. If it was technical and that was it, it'd be so much more straightforward. We'd just do this and that, and then we would be a pro the next day. But that's not all that's against us. There's so much more than that. And it's so funny, man, because even like last night, I was doing an illustration, funnily enough, for some workshops that I want to start up on howtodrawcomics.net. So basically live classes. And this illustration, keeping in with How to Draw Comics brand, is significantly more cleaner than, it's more Michael Turnerish than my typical style that I'm using on KOZOR with the heavy rendering.
Right.
And so as I was doing this up, I'm like, man, this is cool, but because it's not the style that I usually work in, like, how do I know that it's good? How do I know that, people are going to like it, that they're going to enjoy it? And if I had a pro there that I could show that work to and just be like, hey, what do you think of this? What are your thoughts? Not even to help me solve a problem, but just to get their thoughts.
Right.
It'd be awesome. I was thinking that literally last night.
Yeah, I think it's true because it's like a little bit of a kind of gets you nervous anytime you have that in that position. I was going to say goodbye to hockey, goodbye to
See you, hockey.
Who else is around to say goodbye? No, everybody's just saying goodbye. And Coleman, there we go. Oh no, Coleman and Stan, just hockey. Sorry,
Hockey saying goodbye to everyone.
Correct. That's how it goes. So I think you're right because obviously it's going to be nerve-wracking if you're doing something slightly different than what you normally do. I think that's normal. But having someone there to bounce ideas or just, like you said, this is what a mentor does. They guide you, give you specific feedback. And usually it's things that are shining a light on the blind spots. You got blind spots, everybody does. It's like when you're drawing and you flip the image or look at it in a mirror, you suddenly notice like, dude, it's totally off balance or, it looks totally different. I know there's actually some manga artists that specifically only draw one side of the face. Like they always face their characters left or right, just because they can always flip it in the computer if they want. Yeah, that's interesting. Like
that is interesting. That's cool.
It's crazy because that's like a hack. That's something that those kids or whoever's looking to start learning comic art would never think. That's not like what would you call like a glamorous part of the product. That's like a life hack for artists, that you can't draw the other angle. But It's interesting.
It's really weird actually. That with symmetry, that when you do flip the canvas over and over again, you can look at your art and it looks totally whack, right? Like you've drawn it one way, you flip it over, it looks like terrible when you mirrored it. But if you get into the habit of mirroring it and fixing your artwork up as you go, eventually you'll start flipping your canvas back and forth and it'll look good both ways. And
Right.
I find that so fascinating, just the way in which the brain seems to be able to figure these things out in a subconscious way. It's not like you're trying to get better at that. You know that every time you flip it, it's going to be crappy, but for some reason it gets better.
I feel like, yeah, there's I think your brain automatically like sees the visual patterns, and then it tells you to ignore these things that are kind of wrong, but removing them from your vision, like you're gonna be better this way. If you remove this one little blemish, you'll feel better about it. And so it's kind
For
of
sure.
trying to protect you a little bit. So you started up this mentorship program how long ago now?
Man, I only started it a few weeks ago, actually. So it's relatively young, and I'm still not quite sure what to expect. The good thing is that I've had teaching experience in the classroom before, so I know that I'm going to be dealing with a bunch of different types of personalities, and you'll be surprised by how different people can be sometimes. They can really throw you off. So, I'm very, very fortunate in being able to establish a connection with pretty much almost anybody, unless they really hate me for some reason and they're vedering against me. But that's been really cool. Like I said, had a mentoring session already, which it went wonderfully well. We've got some more booked in, so it's great. I'm really, really excited that people are interested in this. Had so much good feedback on it. People who want to jump on board and are planning to book in a session. So it's exciting.
I think it's one of the harder things to get off the ground because tutorials are like the low end. You can put them up for free or for a couple of bucks on Gumroad or something. But the higher end is this like one-on-one, more expensive. It's a lot of your time, and that's what you're paying for. But without the, you obviously have a popularity with the website, with the YouTube channel. But with people without that, like, if I tried right now to go do a mentorship, I'd get a few, maybe I'd get like ones that I'd have to, do for like trading art or something.
Yeah, for sure. It's a funny thing, right? Because I haven't really needed to necessarily promote it a whole lot. I think I've done maybe one social media post and put out a single email about it. And we've already got a ton of interest, which is absolutely fantastic. However, I do need to get my marketing game on because I'm so slack with it, just because I'm trying to balance everything right now. So there's a lot of, creating the actual page for the mentoring sessions, getting all that up and running, actually having a system there so that people can make the bookings. That takes a lot of time. And then by the time that's all done, it's like, I got to move on to other things. And there's almost no time to market it in between. If it was a full-time thing, it'd be so much more successful because I could just spend all day marketing it and getting it out there in front of people. So, the people in your chat right now and a few other people in my circles know about it, but certainly not as many people who I think will ultimately take advantage of it later on down the track.
You bring up, it's pretty cool that you bring up this one point of like, you haven't done a lot of marketing for it and you're still getting some, which is crazy good because that means you got some reach.
Yeah, it's amazing. It shows me that the interest is there and that it's working, which you need to see in any business. Essentially, you need to have the proof there that it's going to work. And once you see that proof, then you can start to build on top of it and give it some acceleration.
Absolutely. And I bring that up because, like, dude, you probably should do maybe a category of mentorship just for the business side of things. Like, how do you maintain business, all the business qualities, and how do you start something up? Because you've obviously built that up. It'd be one of the things I'd be interested in if I'm looking through a website about comics, and maybe So I think if you're interested in mentorships, it means that you're somewhere farther down the road and you got some skills, you want to refine them. You want to get somewhere where you can make a product. And after you have a product, then you can sell it, and you'll need the business stuff for that.
Totally, man. That's so true. I think there's definitely beginners that are going to jump on board, and that's great. I think sometimes people want to, this sounds crazy, but I think that people book in just to show you cool artwork and to get approval for that cool artwork that they've done, which is awesome, but it's not going to help them out a whole lot, right? So there's that. But ideally, when people book in, because they're actually paying, and these mentoring sessions aren't super expensive either. That's one thing that people said, because I had no idea how to price this. I actually asked around a lot of people, and I tried to make it as affordable for comic artists like myself as possible. So, because I know where you guys are at. I know that this stuff can quickly rack up a bit of a bill. So made it as affordable as possible. And when you're actually making that investment, that financial investment, the things that you're going to learn will be much more effective because of it, as opposed to if you had done it for free. And, for example, I've got other brothers who want to be mentored by me as well. And I'm going to make them actually book in a session and charge them for it. Because I know if I just gave it to them for free, that it would be a waste of time. It wouldn't be as effective. They wouldn't actually apply it. Like if you've paid $150 for one of these sessions, and then you're going to apply every piece of advice and insight that you get during that call, because it's got that additional value attached to it.
Oh yeah. There's people in chat that actually would totally take advantage of this. And you bring up the point of that actually being more effective if you have a price to pay. That brings me to this other kind of angle of there's always a price to pay. If you look at how just life works, there's always for every action there's an opposite reaction, and that opposite reaction can be your paycheck, but it also can be just if you're trying to do it for free, it means you have to show them value. So I found this Jake Parker article, and he pretty much blogged out what you can do if you want to do it for free, but it's a lot of work. Like, you have to do a lot of work. You're paying for it somehow. If you're not paying for it with your paycheck, you're paying for it by obviously looking and finding something that you like and knowing the field. And then he suggests that you go and try to win their favor by providing value for them. Like it's a mutual thing, Yeah,
for sure. You're kind of working for the mentor as opposed to them working for you with this approach, which is great, man. I think this looks like an amazing article. I might even look through it myself. It's definitely
what Jedi did to me. Art Jedi. He came to my channel, said, whatever. He'd help me promote. He'd help me do whatever he could, and that's a good way to do it. But
that's so cool.
Yeah. So, what was your thoughts on maybe the downsides to doing it that way?
Yeah, I don't know if there is actually, because I did reach out to other artists as well, and got their feedback and that kind of thing. It's just, I think if Greg Capullo was offering a mentorship though at a reasonable price, mentoring sessions rather, so that I wasn't locked in and I could have as many as I wanted to. I just feel like that's a sure deal. I don't have to mess around trying to convince them to help me out. I don't have to, have their time rationed to me. I can book in as many sessions as I want and spend as much time with them as I need in order to get to where I'm going as a comic book artist. So it feels like that's maybe the easier option. And
you're paying with your time too, and not everybody has time. So I think that's
exactly
we're the busiest people to ever live these days. Everybody's got social media, their day job, plus whatever all the small stuff you're doing in your life. Everybody's got those things. So I feel like something like this for comics, your mentorship program, you're not going to find it anywhere else really, and not with the resources you have on here. So you can go about it and try to find the guys that you really like, and good luck to you, because take it from the both of us, it's really hard to get a pro to give you the time because most people don't have any to give. So
yeah, and it's difficult to actually be able to carve out like 2 hours and sit down with them for 2 hours, have them go over your work, be able to ask them questions. They just don't have that time. So they might be able to get back to your email and, you know, give you feedback via text. Maybe they hit you up on a call, but it's difficult for it to be. Maybe you get 1-2 hour slot with them, but you're not going to get that continuously. I mean, you look at David Finch and just how busy he is, right? I can't even book that guy in for an interview, and he wants to do an interview on how to draw comics.
oh, that's gonna be great.
But it's just he's got like, you know, I think that week he had like 6 commissions to do, 6 covers to do in a week. I mean, that's insane.
Mind blowing. For guys like me, I know you're trying to improve your speed. I'm so close to being able to do it full time because of speed and rates, and everything lines up eventually. If you
Me too, man. It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, great time for comics right now, especially if you're an indie. You know, if you're trying to put out your own book, like Clayton is here, he's got KOZOR that's still in demand, still available. It's looked cool the first time I saw it. I know right around the time when I was preparing Star Circuit, you launched this, and I was like, dude, this is a great model to follow. Which there's plenty of books that are this successful that I look to, and this is one of them, obviously. But yeah, how's KOZOR? How's KOZOR going?
Yeah, KOZOR's going really well. So I was really taking my time with it before, and every single panel, it was a masterpiece. And I was really meticulous about where I placed every line. And for me to call it done, it had to be just perfect. So, I'd be erasing and redoing things and stuff. Going over the top of Corey's work, by the way, which was already done, but we're upgrading the artwork. And so that was good. And I was getting a great result from it, but it was slow as hell and really delaying the book. And I've realized I really delay shit for some reason. I think that I'm just too much of a perfectionist, because we've got another book in the works that hasn't got a campaign yet. I'm just funding it out of my own pocket. I'm paying someone else to illustrate it. And it's coming together as fast as KOZOR is.
Yeah.
By the time we get KOZOR fulfilled, this thing will be done.
Are you talking about Borok? Is that the one?
Yeah, Borok, the KOZOR spinoff. So I'm like, man, maybe I should just be a manager, like I know I can do everything, but I'm such a perfectionist. Anyway, the good news is that recently I was like, look, we got to get KOZOR done and out to the backers. We got to get it done in the next month or two, right? So I decided to speed up. I said, look, I'm at a place now where if I had a little bit more speed behind me, I could probably pull off. Thanks, Badger. I could probably pull off work that was just as good, and people would love it just as much. And that this whole perfectionism thing that I got going on is a bit of self-indulgence, I believe, bit of ego, ego issues. It's got to be perfect, it's got to be good. That's got to be ego related, right?
It could be. I have. I'm doing pages right now for a side book. It's like a half issue, but it's a great intro, and I get to do something else besides draw motorcycles. So but I'm realizing this speed comes with there's a lot of ways to hack that. And, for you, your work looks super detailed for this. So there's not going to be too many ways around that.
What I found is that, and this is just the best discovery ever, is I started speeding up. I got to work. I was just laying it down. And maybe the first panel that I illustrated speedily, I didn't necessarily come out the best, but it was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Like most people would look at it and they'd be like blown away by it anyway. But what was really enlightening was the next few panels after that, and how they progressively but subtly got better and better to the point where they were pretty much on par, if not better, than the panels that I was taking my sweet ass time to illustrate.
Yeah.
And that was incredible because I wasn't just getting better, I was getting better faster. So I was practicing how to be good at a high speed. This was the best discovery ever because it meant that potentially I could get a page done in 1 or 2 days.
Right. It's like revelation of monumental proportions, because speed.
Hell yeah.
Speed means money. Speed also means like getting the book out, which means more story. So
Yeah.
it's equivalent to a lot of things.
Yeah, it's, yes, it's important to get this book out to the backers, but we also want to do more than one comic book a year. Like we got a dream here, a legacy that we're trying to build, and at the pace we're going, that just wasn't going to be possible. So we had to do it for our backers and also for our legacy as the Barton Bros.
Got a potential idea here. Comics Legend thinks, I think once KOZOR is done, it can be used as marketing for the mentorship. People want advice from people who have successfully finished a comic. Otherwise, people will be on the fence about it.
So true.
That's interesting because, I mean, you could almost do it now. Like you say that once it's fulfilled, but the money is there and the proof is in the digits there. So like, yeah, it's nice that you can fulfill and we know you will. But I think like just it is a good directing point to be like, oh, if you're wanting to do something, like that ends in a career or ends in something that you're proud of, here's the proof.
Yeah, man. That's the cool thing about howtodrawcomics.net is I just see it as such a full circle thing. You can go there to learn, and then you can actually create a comic book with that knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
The mentoring stuff is really great, and maybe I'll even do a crowdfunding workshop one day because it's like you don't have to just learn about drawing when you book in for a mentoring session. You can actually, if you were to book in a mentoring session, Joe, you could ask me about business. Heck, we could talk about anything you want.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. Within my skill set, I can help you out. But yes, but just that the road that How to Draw Comics has set, you can end up at the site with nothing, walk away with the skill set to be able to do this stuff, to actually create a comic book. And now it's possible to do that and to earn money from it and to build your own studio. It's incredible.
I think you're on the right track because I think it complements being a professional artist so much because there's not much you can take on besides talking with someone for an hour or two, or you can't take on full projects besides the one you're on. And so like something like a mentorship is perfect for a working artist. It might be a good way to supplement if you're an artist out there that has a decent following and you got something to show for it. It might be a good idea. Maybe in my cards in the future as well. Who knows? But
heck yeah, man.
Slipstick says, I was a good artist, but never nurtured it. If I were to start drawing again, I'd like to be mentored to make sure that I'm on a good track to creating a comic.
Totally.
Yeah. So it's probably at some point everybody's best interest to do a mentorship, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people want to do it. It was surprising to me, man, how much good feedback I got when I first announced the mentoring session. So much interest. So it was clearly something that, people had been looking for, which, I'm happy to fill some portion of that need. But I think we need more stuff like this out there for comic book artists as well. And, our resource is great, but it still needs growth. I want to make this the ultimate resource for aspiring comic book artists.
Nice. There's actually a funny tag along. I was inspired by Rob, the Replicator, with his. He's got a crowdfund document out there. If everybody's, I'm sure a lot of people have run across this thing, but it's a great resource if you haven't seen it. It's just a Google Doc that he's put together to help you crowdfund your book whenever you're ready. And it's helped me, but I was inspired by that, and I wanted to make another index, if you will. I call it the ultimate guide. That's what it reminded me, because you want to make howtodrawcomics.net the ultimate guide, but mine is not really the subject matter. I'm making the index. I'm making a Google Doc that'll say, oh, go to howtodrawcomics.net for this, go to this site for this, and then it's all in one page. Here's all the links, and so I'm building that, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think that's and it's free. So it's just a good way to easily get in and out of this document, not get sucked in, just find what you're looking for, jump out. It's almost selfish because I don't have all the answers. So I needed to help me figure this out. And so contributing.
I think that's why half of us end up providing and trying to give back to the communities that we're a part of in the way of education, because we're the biggest students of all. We learn so much through teaching, through sharing with other people. it really is a collaboration. That's the way I see it. If it was all one-sided, if I was just telling people what to do and that's all that I got out of it, man, I didn't grow. That's boring as hell. That's a waste of time.
For sure.
So I think there's a genuine want to help people, and that it's very, very rewarding, though. I think it's one of the most rewarding things is giving back. It's at the top of the list of most rewarding things.
Absolutely. I think like you're very much I don't know, you feel good about helping other people, but at the same time, you know that it's like it's something comes back. It's like an altruism that helps you selfishly. You're like selfish about your something like that.
Yeah, totally, man.
My girlfriend's here. She says, Joe's my mentor. Yes, I help you a little bit. Not with everything. Sometimes a little bit about art. Never know.
Ah, it's so nice.
It's nice because she's an artist. It's nice to have an artist in the house, you know?
Oh, for sure. Big time.
Is your wife an artist as well or not?
Yeah, she's an artist. She's a traditional oil painter. She's working on a piece right now, actually. We had to make sure when we moved house that we not only had a room to sleep in and a room for our daughter, but also 2 additional rooms for our studios.
There you go.
I realize this is the most important thing if you're living together with somebody else, because you really need that space, not just to be you and to be in your element, but also to work without distraction. One of the things that really hold us up, honestly, is just constant distraction. If you're being distracted all the time by the people you're living with, maybe it's housemates, maybe it's kids, maybe it's, a partner. Dogs, yeah, that can really just throw you off course because it takes you out of the zone, and it can take you a while to get back in that zone.
For sure. I feel like there's a fight over me in the chat as we're talking about this. Everybody, you can all be my friends. Maybe not NTM. NTM is said Jedi's clingy. He's my mentee, dude. Don't bother Noah. No, don't bother Jedi. So I was going to bring up the last thing, something that relates to all this, which is Star Circuit, my crowdfund that is pretty much inspired by Akira and books that, just like KOZOR, you would say, is inspired by like Berserk. And what are the other types of books that KOZOR is inspired by?
Oh, Berserk, Dark Souls, The Witcher, stuff like that. But mostly Berserk, I would say.
Cool. I think like that's what indie comics is bringing to the table right now. It's just like there's these old IPs everybody's remembers, and we're bringing back the spirit of that. It's not like, obviously not direct copying or anything. It's just like, here's the spirit. Here's what we liked about what's not around anymore, and we're bringing it back.
Totally, man.
That's what I'm trying to do with my book. It's not really all Akira. It's a lot of different things. There's a lot of inspirations from American comic art, and that's what drives the art. But a lot of the stories driven by books like Neuromancer and obviously Akira. Things like even the Matrix has some levels in this book. But go check out Star Circuit. Anybody who's a mod, throw a link in the chat as well. We are fulfilling next month, so it's a good time to jump on board with this thing. We also are doing a 3D print. It's down here. It's the first edition, so we'll have better and better versions of this one. This one is gray, and it's actually pretty sizable. So down at the bottom, you can actually see a turnaround if you're interested. It's pretty awesome. So go check it out. These are shipping actually this week. You'll get this thing pronto if you order it now. So
cool.
We're checking that out. Before we roll, because we're closing in an hour here, and it's been a fun time. I don't think we've ever had like a one-on-one combo for this long, right? It's probably always been a panel.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's very, very true. And it's great to catch up with you one-on-one, because you were actually a big part of howtodrawcomics.net for a while there. You did a ton of tutorials. Let's show them all the tutorials you did, Joe.
Bring it up. Let's bring it up.
Because these were super cool. And still, I swear, these are the best tutorials out there on the internet for comic book artists. Like, if you look up how to draw comics, we're at the top. But if you scroll down, there's like the second one, I think, is like a tutorial on how to draw rock. So
really? On the bottom?
Yeah. At the bottom of the Google list.
Oh, okay.
luckily we're beating the rock tutorial. We weren't for a while, but this is like the next best thing to how to draw comics, at least in Google search. So in comparison, Joe's tutorials are just freaking amazing.
Well,
he covered perspective, bunch of stuff.
I'm glad to be a part of it because I mean that's what kind of inspired me. A lot of your tutorials on there, and there's several collaborators in here that all inspire. But I think what I add to the mix here, if you read any of mine, I try to give a little bit of that mentor angle. So without being there, you know what I mean? The thing that I would say to you that you won't find in an anatomy book, like for the back, I include this one image that I remember. It's a simple shape.
Look at that. This is incredible, man.
It's this image here. This is using symbols. This is what I would tell you if I was a mentor, but I wouldn't be able to give you direct feedback like you would as a mentor. But this is how I would present it. I'd be like, oh, imagine it like an arrowhead and a wishbone fitting in together, and it might help you, just generally play your muscles. But yeah, that's how I kind of wrote a lot of these, and I gave each one my all. So if you want to, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a killer tutorial, and a lot of them, all the tutorials on there are great. And I'm, like I said, glad that I was able to do it with you guys.
Yeah, man, you made it just. Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of How to Draw Comics, not just because of what I've done on it, but also because of what you've done on it. I think that, and it's a website with no ads or anything like that. Like every other website has ads, but genuinely, I wanted to make this a place you could go and just to learn comic book stuff. And thank you, Joe, for helping me to do that, because those tutorials are incredible, man.
Well, thanks for responding way back when I wanted to help, and it just turned out like it was a good collaboration. And it's been super beneficial. It taught me a lot, as much as I think that's the bottom line here, that mentoring is a good thing for everybody. Even if you're mentoring someone, you're learning. If you're getting mentored, you're getting direct feedback that's going to direct you in the right path. And hopefully, we highly suggest that you go check out howtodrawcomics.net in their mentoring program, because it seems like there's so much interest there that it's undeniably the best thing for a growing artist.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, it's not super expensive mentoring, but the quality is just as good. You get 2 hours. You'd be surprised how much we can cover in 2 hours. And it's just, something that I think is going to be really rewarding for myself, but also for whoever it is that I'm catching up with. I mean, it's such a great learning experience. This is why I want to start up the workshops too, because that is like a course that I can give direct feedback, and you can catch up with a group of people then and actually learn from them too. So that's going to be really exciting. Another thing I will mention as well, Joe, just because you brought it up a few times, is eventually when I think about how I'd like to grow the mentoring sessions, I like to get other mentors, bring them on board, and have them available to people through howtodrawcomics.net as well. And you can kind of choose and who you book in for on what day. So I think that'd be really cool. That's still a little while down the track, but I thought I'd mention that. We're always thinking about how we can make this better.
Yeah, that seems like the next level, Clayton. Because then it'd be all in one place. You'd be like, oh, I like this guy's, or this guy's better.
Yeah, and some people might not like me, which is totally understandable.
I'm sure they got no qualms with you, but you never know like what style they're going into, and
exactly,
and that sort of thing. We got Mo Biggs showing up a little late, but better than never for sure. Thank you, Mo. And good stuff, Confiscators here. Thank you for coming around. This is pretty much the end of the stream. You can go back and rewatch this thing. We talk a little bit about a lot of the angles of mentorship, plus, just how we met and that sort of thing. So go check it out later on the rewatch. Go check out howtodrawcomics.net for the mentorship program. Go back KOZOR if you haven't seen that before. Those links are in the description, and I'm sure they're in the chat too. And lastly, check out Star Circuit. Subscribe and like this video. It helps build this channel, build all the stuff I'm making, and just it's not a crazy thing to think that like if you're subscribing to, it's a free thing. So if you subscribe to somebody in your network, it's not like you're pulling away from somebody else. So think of it as like a community mindset rather than like a scarcity thing. You know, you help somebody, it's going to actually help you in the end and everyone around you, you know, the little things that you do. So
For sure. That's so true.
yeah, that's the way I like to look at it, at least. So check it out. We're fulfilling Star Circuit this next month, probably. It's printing now. So any last words for where maybe we can find you, Clayton, online? Besides,
Yeah, I mean, you can find me just at How to Draw Comics on pretty much everything: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I think that's all I'm on. I'm also on, damn, I forgot the name of it now. Another social media network that people were going on about for a while there. Minds, it's called. Yeah. So I'm on there too. But yeah, the last thing I want to say is just whether or not you take up the mentoring sessions or whatever, there's a lot of free resources out there, to be quite truthful with you, and they are all very helpful if you put them into action. And no matter what level you're at, if you want to be a comic book artist and you want to make a living from it one day, it's actually possible. So have faith that as hard as it is now, that if you just keep on going and you keep on plugging away, as discouraged as you might be by your artwork, as long as you keep on practicing, it will get better. It's 100% guarantee. You just got to put in the time. That's the price you pay. So you can have anything you want, but what price are you willing to pay? What are you willing to sacrifice? So if this is really what you want, you can do it. That's all I'll say.
Absolutely. You give and you get.
That's an amazing thing.
Yeah. It's great and wonderful thing. It can be good, used for your benefit, or if you don't go that direction, it's used on something else. So
exactly.
Your time is valuable.
Whether you do or you don't, you'll work just as hard.
Yeah, it's a good point. I always think about it like wherever you put in your time, you get more of. Whatever you try to get, you're going to get more of. The more time you put in, you get more of it.
That's so true, man. That's the main rule of life.
I hope you have a great success with the mentorship. And
thanks.
Quite obviously, maybe in the future I get to do more tutorials if I get some time ever again.
I'd love that.
You never know. But yeah, thanks for coming on the channel. You're definitely a big name around these parts, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, Joe. It's an absolute pleasure chatting with you today, and we got to do it more.
For sure. Until next time, everybody, have a good evening.